Here's my take on building an invasion UI and gameplay flow in Halo Infinite that addresses the issues I have with the current official invasion game mode. So here at the start of the game, we get a preview of the map, and only after 6 seconds does the menu actually pop up for me. So here I can choose my loadout, choose the BR one, and we start at the initial spawns. Immediately you can see that there are visible nav markers for the spawn zones, so I'm communicated where my spawn zones are, so if I die, I'll know where I can spawn. Here if I die, you'll notice there's no menu pop-up immediately, but instead there's a 4-second wait until a menu pops up, so it's not abruptly in your face. It gives players a little bit of time to assess the situation after they have died. The menu items have changed to being on the top and the bottom instead of left and right, and the menu icons have changed to be a little bit more readable and distinguishable. So loadouts is the weapon icon, spawning is a Spartan standing icon. If you go in the loadouts menu, you can already see all of the upcoming loadouts, and you can see the available loadouts based on whether you can select them or not. The icons for the loadouts have changed to be the weapon, the primary weapon, instead of the equipment, which I feel the weapon is much more communicative of the primary item in the loadout. If you want more info on what is in the loadout, you can read the description of the menu item up top. So I'll choose the BR, and it's taken me straight to the spawn menu. If I accidentally didn't want to choose the BR, I can go backwards and choose the Bulldog, for example. Now, if I want to backtrack, which is another feature of this menu, I can do so. I can go in a menu and backtrack by pressing the cancel button, and it works just fine. It doesn't close the menu fully when you press cancel. It only closes the menu when you cancel at the main radial here. You'll also notice that I haven't spawned in 8 seconds. I've spent probably 40 seconds in this menu just browsing my options, so there's no panic in being in such a limited time frame of being able to use the menu. The spawn menu has been shrunk down to be only 5 options, since these options can fit in a 5-sector layout. I can choose between ABC and the vehicle bay. The vehicle bay is not disabled, it's always kept enabled, and this body spawn works just like it works in the other invasion. Choose to spawn A, I spawn in the A zone. Now here I'll show what happens if I quickly choose my spawn. It says respawn, the respawn time, just like you would expect, and I spawn in the zone that I selected. If I choose a spawn and I'm in the queue, I can also choose to reopen the menu to stop the queue, stop the spawn from happening, maybe choose a loadout that I wanted, and then choose to spawn C instead. If I die and I just want to spawn C, I can do that here quickly. It's not prompting me to choose another loadout, because I just want to spawn with my Bulldog. If I spawn and I don't press anything, it's going to wait that 4 seconds and then prompt the radial for me. I can close out the radial and it's going to automatically spawn me after 2 seconds. This automatic 2-second wait is there, so if you accidentally close the menu, you're not like immediately put into a spawn. Now here you've noticed we've been spawning on these spawn zones. If I change the phase like this, it shows in the kill feed phase 2. We can put some audio cues here, for example, as well. And now you see the spawn zones have changed here, so I'm immediately communicated that these are the new spawns I would be expecting to spawn in. So let's say there's a fight happening near C and I die. I'll think, okay, I saw that there's a fight in C, I'm gonna spawn C. It's not like the spawns are named left side of building, right side of building. I've played multiple invasion games and I still have not memorized what those area names mean. So having these nav markers, I think, is a much better way of communicating the areas you'll be spawning in. Also phase 3 here, and if I die, I'll choose to spawn on the vehicle bay, for example. It's an unmarked area in this demo, but that can be marked as well. Now here's the flow for when a round is ended. So you'll see it's just a regular round end, no abruptions, no radials popping up in your face. When the round begins, there's a quick 2 to 3 second time of choosing a loadout. And if you don't choose a loadout, it defaults to choosing the first loadout. Now you'll see I'm on the attacking side, and my spawn zones have changed to be these ones. If I die, I have the same menus, except this time I have the attacker loadouts. So I'll choose the heat wave, choose to spawn B, and now I spawn here. If I choose to spawn C, I can do that. I already know I'm gonna spawn under the nav marker that says C, even though this is a new map, it's already communicated where I'm gonna spawn. And you also notice I retain the loadout that I chose, so I haven't changed my loadout from the heat wave, but I'm still gonna still gonna spawn with it. So now I spawned A. I'll also show that your spawn selection is retained. So if I die, open the menu and close it. I've not made any changes. I'm still gonna spawn on A with my heat wave, because that's the last selection I made. So let me just choose a carbine here. I'll change the phase. So now it's phase 2, and I have these spawns, which are the attacker spawns. If I die, I have more loadouts unlocked. I can choose a sword loadout, spawn in the vehicle bay. I can quickly abrupt. Maybe I didn't want my sword loadout. Let me actually get the pulse carbine loadout. And then I still want to spawn on the previous spawn that I chose. And there we go, I spawn in the vehicle bay. Now I need the round again. I'll show quickly choosing the loadout. So here I'm gonna change my loadout to the bulldog, and I immediately spawn with the bulldog. And now we're again on the defending side, so the spawn zones have changed to the defending side. The invasion demo I scripted is divided into 4 systems: the radial system, the spawning system, the invasion logic system, and the loadouts system. The radial system is built on top of TSG Radial, which is a module I created for easily creating radial menus. I'll quickly skim through the code here. So we have the backtracking logic here, menu closing and logging logic here, the menu item selection logic, and logic for opening the menus. The radials themselves are here. They're just 3 separate radials in 3 separate brains. This is the radial for the main, so it has the selections for spawning and loadouts. This block here is for selecting the items. Then here's the spawning menu, ABC, buddy spawn, vehicle bay, and the corresponding events. And then the loadout radial, which is the biggest one, because it has 2 separate radials created based on your team. But the selection events are the same. Here lies the spawn system. Let's go a bit more in depth with that. We block the player spawns by default. We set a default spawn location for a player at the start and when they join. We block the spawning of the player if they have a radial menu open. We automatically show the main radial to a player 4 seconds after they die if they haven't opened a menu yet. If a player fully closes the menu, we check for 2 seconds if the player has the menu still closed, and if so, we automatically spawn the player at their chosen spawn. The spawn selection logic sets a spawn order on a player and then unblocks the spawns so they can spawn. What this means is that, for example, if the spawn order is 2 on the player, they will only spawn on spawn points that have a spawn order of 2. So for example here, these are spawn order 2, these are spawn order 3, so the only spawns they can spawn on are these ones here. Expanding a bit more on the spawn selection system I've chosen to use, we are relying on spawn order on the respawn points. We are using values of 1 to 6 and 10 and 11 for the vehicle base. Values 1 to 3 mean the ABC spawns for the defending team, and values 4 to 6 mean the ABC spawns for the attacking team. Value 10 is the vehicle bay for the defenders, value 11 is vehicle bay for the attackers. Now these are all shared between the phases, so we can even see on phase 2 we're using spawn orders 1, 2, 3 for the ABC for defenders, and same for the phase 3. The only thing that's different is we are using a label here, so user alpha for the phase 1 items, user bravo for phase 2, and Charlie for phase 3. The interrupt spawn logic is unused currently, but it would be used for the body spawn system for when a player has already chosen a body spawn, they're in the queue to get that body spawn, but then, for example, the player dies, so the body spawn is disabled now. You would then show the spawn radial back to the player so they can choose another spawn. The radial refresh is also unused, but it would be used for refreshing a radial that a player is already looking at, in this case the spawn radial. So for example, if the body spawn or the vehicle base spawn becomes enabled or disabled, you would want to refresh that radial for every player who is currently viewing that radial so they can see the updated state of the menu item. Now for the invasion logic system, which basically determines where players can spawn based on the phase and which team a player should be on based on the round. So at the start of each round we set the phase to 1 and we assign the spawns for that phase. So when assigning spawns, we first disable all spawns, and then based on the phase number we enable specific spawns that are only meant for that phase. We also attach nav markers to the spawn zones depending on the phase number. For the team assignment, at the start of the round we check if the round number is even or odd, and based on that we update the defending team and the attacking team values. We then fire the event on teams assigned. Following the on teams assigned event, we create 6 nav markers, 3 for each team. These are the A, B, and C spawn zones, and we set them according to the team variable for the defending team and the attacking team. And finally we get to the loadout system. When a player joins, we set a default loadout value for them. On round start, if the round is not the initial round, we show the loadout radial to each player. So this is that 1 to 2 seconds time you have of choosing a loadout. When gameplay begins at the start of each round, we give each player their selected loadout. If a player spawns while the game is active, we give them their selected loadout. The game is active only after the gameplay has begun. If the player is dead, the loadout they selected is assigned to them, a sound is played, and the spawn radial is shown to the player. If the player is not dead, we see which loadout the player wanted to be granted to them. We check the player's team, and based on those info, we assigned a set of items to the player. There can also be a third check here for the phase, so you could assign a specific loadout based on the player's loadout selection, their team, and the current phase. Keep in mind, if you want phase-specific loadouts, you would also have to alter the loadout radial to have more options based on the phase. Currently, it is just based on the team. And that's how I built a demo for the UI and gameplay flow for an invasion game mode. I'll quickly jump into play mode to get a refresher on all the things I've done. So we have the radial menu, loadouts, spawns, backtracking. We can choose the spawn. We can choose between phases, and the spawns change. Now if I spawn, I'm gonna spawn on the other phase. Phase 3. And as the round ends, we get a loadout menu to show for us. We select the loadout, and then it's given to us on gameplay start.